All right. We got Ray Longo here, head coach of the Sarah Longo fight team.
Yeah, Jake.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
Coach of
Welcome.
3 world champions in MMA.
Man, that's not bad.
In the UFC.
I like it. I like the
Coach
ring. I
of-
like the way that sounds.
Coach of probably the most of the big upset title fights ever. Because you got Sarah beating GSP, Weidman beating Silva, Aljo beating Jan in the rematch.
That's a compliment to Aljo, because normally they make all guys like plus 1,000 when they're fighting the champions, you know? So that's pretty good. Aljo did good with that.
He was like a plus 270, I think.
That's not bad. I think
370
Weidman
maybe?
probably was around that too.
Yeah.
Sarah was, I think, was plus 1,500 at one point.
What's the average there?
Yeah, a lot of people made a lot of money. When Sarah won, man, trust me, people were dropping off TVs to the gym, gifts, because
Really?
they won so much freaking money. Yeah, 100%.
But before the sports gambling apps,
Yeah.
like where were you placing your bets?
Well, yeah, that would be the corner bookie. You probably
Yeah,
never
what was
heard
that
of.
like? That's before my time.
You don't know what that's like?
No, actually.
It's like there's always a guy in the neighborhood that takes your bet, right?
Okay.
So you go to a guy that you know that's what he does for a living. He has a book.
So then, like, you give him your money,
Right.
and then if you win, he gives you back your money, and then
Right.
some.
And if you lose,
He
you
keeps
give
your
him the money. And if you don't pay, then they try to baseball bat you.
But like, he'll keep the money. He's trying to profit every week, basically.
100%.
Okay,
He
yeah.
don't want to get hit for no big,
Right.
flukes where a guy put 50 grand down. He's got to shell out like 75,000. So normally they'll put a limit on it. The local guys now, I think, put more of a limit. They're not taking a $5,000 bet.
Okay. So.
Right. So that's the way it used to be, Jake. You
Yeah.
just found a guy to take your money, and that was it.
A little shady. Were they shady guys?
Define shady.
I mean, you tell me.
I don't know. I mean,
what
were they,
what kind of
were they
vibe did
filing a
give off
tax
to you?
return? No.
Okay.
Is
But
that-
like, were they giving off weird vibes in person, or were they guys
No.
you'd hang out with?
Well, guys I'd hang out with.
Okay.
Guys I do hang out with.
Oh.
They might be in the
But is
gym. There were
did they-
guys in the gym that would take your money. What are you talking about?
But-
Is this
but-
new to you?
Yeah, it is, Ray. I'm young.
Don't you know Weidman was notorious for, he only took the money when he won. He never wanted to pay when he was losing.
Okay.
They never knew what to do with him.
Okay.
That's a joke. But go ahead. What do we got?
All right.
Let's go, Jake. Come on, get it rolling.
Sarah Longo trivia.
Armando's in the back giggling right now.
Who was the first fighter from Law to win at MSG? Do you know this?
The first fighter was to win at MSG was Frivola. Just tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Manimal told me to ask you that.
Oh, Jesus.
It might have been him.
Well, so wait. UFC fighter or just any fighter?
No, any.
Any fighter?
Yeah.
I had a fighter win the Golden Gloves at the Garden way back when, so that trumps everybody.
Was that Sarah Longo?
That was only it was at the time, but with the kickboxing and boxing, I just put under my name. Any MMA was me and Matt. Just like if he does a jiu-jitsu thing, he uses
just
his
his,
name.
yeah,
Right,
okay.
right.
All
But
right.
with the mixed martial arts, it's Sarah. We combine on that, so it wasn't Manimal. If that's if we're talking about all combat
he
sports,
told me to ask you.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no. First off, I had guys win kickboxing and boxing.
At MSG.
Yeah.
They had. Wow. Okay. I didn't know they had.
Well, all the
kickboxing.
finals were always held at MSG.
Okay.
In the theater at that time, but I'm still saying that's MSG. Oh no?
No, I count it.
Yeah.
You got 3 guys fighting at MSG. You got Steamroller, Nas, and Dennis making their MSG debuts for 2 of them. Steamroller's fighting there for the 2nd or 3rd time.
Steamroller's there it'll be his 3rd time there.
Yeah. So how cool is that for you to have? I mean, you guys are the local fight team. You guys basically dominating the card.
Yeah, I'm glad. First off, I'm glad the UFC put the guys on because normally sometimes you get on, sometimes you don't. But for these guys, look, when I was a kid fighting at the Garden, that was the pinnacle, man. If you fought at the Garden, that's why the Golden Gloves was always so big, because they used to hold the finals at the Garden. So you got those Golden Gloves, and you know, fought at the Garden. That was always considered a big deal. So for these guys, it's huge. You know, it was always the mecca for combat sports, for boxing. Ali fought Frazier there. I mean, the place has history, so it is a big deal. You know what I mean? And you know, you get to say you fought at the Garden for the rest of your life. It's not too shabby.
What like, what would it mean to you for all three of your guys to win that night?
Well, I definitely hate and despise losing, so I want to win no matter what, you know, but especially for those guys. So I expect all three guys to win. I just want to make sure the camps go good and they're all ready to go, and then I think they'll do great. But, you know, anytime you have three guys fighting, the trouble is you have two guys win and one guy loses. You know, it's always a shitty position, even for me, because you want to always, you know, elevate the guys that won, but then you don't want to go too crazy because then you have one guy that lost, so you try to, you know, be respectful to anybody. But you know, I love it. I think it's for a small gym, and to have even that many guys in the UFC for a gym 5,000 square feet is pretty big. So 3 guys at the Garden is unbelievable, and I do expect 3 wins. The losses, I really do. You know, I feel like I lost, even though I have, you know what I mean? It's I don't like losing. I don't like my guys losing, period.
How, because a lot of new guys have been signed.
Yeah.
Recently, you got Pompos, Charlie, who am I missing?
Bazooka.
Yeah, who's fighting
Right.
at MSG. How cool is it for you? Like you said, it's a local gym. It's
Yeah.
a small gym. It's not some big gym with a bunch of funding. How cool is that for you to have the success you have? Like, how is that? Could you have imagined this, like, when you started coaching?
Man, I don't think I ever thought it was going to get this big. But before the UFC, I was coaching kickboxers and boxers, so I did have champions, you know, before this. It was just that there was no really outlet. It wasn't big. Like even today, you heard Dana say that, like Rogan wants him to push the glory kickboxing, and he's saying there wasn't a market, you know, there's not a market for it. And I kind of agree with Dana, because I've been around you know, since the 80s with the kickboxing, and it never really took off. And I love it, but you know, wait, where the hell were we going with that though? What was
how cool is it for you to have such a successful gym?
Was that was the first thing? How the fuck did I segue over to?
Could you have imagined this?
Oh yeah,
back in the day?
So no, I'm gonna say I couldn't, even though, but so that was my point. No, I couldn't have imagined it this big, but I was successful on this level with boxing and, no, well, really more kickboxing. I had a lot of guys in the Golden Gloves that did good, but kickboxing, I had a couple of champions. No, I never thought it was going to be like this. Even when MMA first started and Sarah started fighting, you didn't think it was going to go this big. And look, it almost didn't make it, man. If it's not for that Spike TV and Griffin and Bonner, who knows where we'd be right now. So all of these guys really they owe it to those guys, and they owe it to the Fertittas for keep going into their pockets to put up the money to keep this thing going. So, you know. But I'm going to say, to go back to it, no, it wasn't, I didn't think it would get like this.
So back then, when there was nothing so promising as there is today in terms of like finances and like world fame that you get if you become a champion, like what incentivized you to want to get into this?
I didn't want to get into this. I just was in the right place at the right time. It wasn't, when I started like training and teaching, this wasn't even an option. So I just love martial arts. I would have just ran the school, that's all, and I would have changed up probably what I was teaching, because I was always more into like the weapons and the Jeet Kune Do. And then once we started getting with the kickboxing, the Thai boxing, the boxing, all that stuff, I started focusing more on training fighters. But I always had a decent enough school to kind of fund that, you know what I mean? Because there was no money in it. There's definitely was no money in it back then at all. But you know, you're doing it, look, you get into this thing because you love martial arts, or you love MMA, you love fighting, but it's more passionate than, you know, it's a labor of love. It's not something you go into saying, I'm going to be a millionaire. I could have been a millionaire 20 times over. by not doing this. That's I'm going to say a fact.
Just by coaching.
Just by doing
at a
running
normal
the school and doing it like that, yeah. And always be coaching something, but yeah, like it was never about the money to me. The money did come after, but there was no money at the beginning, man. That's why you always go back. There was really kind of no politics back then. That's why guys that fought back, like when Matt first started, you were fighting for the love of fight. You had a love to fight. Those guys were making maybe 6-6, 5-5, 7-7, and there wasn't a lot of increases or anything like that. And maybe there were a couple of guys, the Liddells and Randy and some other guys that made it, but Randy went to court for years and there was a lot of bullshit like that. But you really loved to fight. It had nothing to do with the money back then. Everybody wanted to make money. And you got to remember back then you could get your own sponsorship, so guys were getting decent deals with the sponsors, so they were making money, but not like today. Nothing like today. So you got into this thing, coaching or fighting, because you love to do it.
How did you even, like, what's your origin as like a martial artist?
I just was a Jeet Kune Do guy I started out with Kung Fu years ago when I was a kid, and then I went to Jeet Kune Do.
Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Jeet Kune Do's, more Chinese oriented than anything anyway. So there's a lot of, Kung Fu is a general term for, like even if you're doing Wing Chun or you're doing trapping or something, it's considered Kung Fu of some sort. So that's my interpretation anyway.
Interesting. So what fuels your fire as a coach, and what about seeing your guys win, like what does that make you feel?
Well, that is
inside?
what fuels my fire, is watching my guys win and being successful and see how they alter their lives, seeing how their lives benefit from winning. And it's really like it was never really even about becoming a champion. It was about becoming a champion in life, right? So like I always talk about Sarah. I'm more proud of him owning, he had 2 schools at the time, now he's got 1 huge school, but that was always more impressive to me than him winning the title, is that now he's, he probably wouldn't have did much. Well, I think he would have been successful, whatever he did, but if you talk to him, he'd tell you he would have been a security guard probably for the rest of his life, but that's what motivated him to never want to go back to having like a menial job again. So that's where that's why I like guys that work like the Marabs. They get in there, they're doing construction, because you gotta want to hate that so much that it fuels your training. Like, look what Alja had to go through. He was going to be a teacher, he was going to stop fighting. So there's always a struggle before you make it, and I think when you make it, that's what makes it that much better. And that's what it's about. It's like even take Aljo. He's going to be successful in the future. And I think that's part because of the fighting and what he learned through the fighting and how to dig down deep when you have to, and overcoming adversity. Fucking life's gonna throw a lot of shit at you, man. The fighting will help you. It should help you. But without that, man, you see people, they hit adversity and they crumble. It's over. You know what I mean? They're panicked. They have panic attacks, and they have this and that, and they got to go on medication. And these guys learn how to deal with the highest level of adversity there is. Somebody's trying to knock your teeth out of your head, and you still have to sit there and be relaxed and interpret what's coming at you. And I think that, to me, is the highest level of self-expression there is. And I think you're going to carry that with you for the rest of your life. Like, what's worse? They say public speaking is the most stressful thing. Don't they say something like that? Public speaking, something like that. I think
maybe it's the highest.
Is that worse than having somebody trying to decapitate you, standing in front of you? No, that's a picnic at that point, So I think that's what you learn kind of from that.
So for you, would you say like you get your rocks off seeing guys transform into these like mental warriors?
Yeah, 100%. If I have even 2% of that, that's what drives me, yeah. But that's what a martial art teacher always was. You're always like trying to like a conduit of information and a guide to, a lot of things. And that's why I think I have to be successful in my life. That's why would anybody want to follow me? If I pull up in a fucking 1920 broken down car with a you know, 3 different tires on it, and then I'm talking shit like I know what's going on. Well, you have to be able to do it. So I think, you know, I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I do try to make an attempt at leading a decent life to set an example. And I'm not saying that I do. I'm saying I try to make that attempt. And, you know, and when I'm wrong, I'm definitely wrong. And, you know, when I'm right, I'm right. But, you know, I think you do have to set an example outside of the gym. I was like, again, yeah, I run into guys, I wouldn't want to listen to them even if they were right. Like, where does it lead to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're divorced 10 times, they're living in the basement somewhere, and they're an expert.
So, talk about a guy like you know, we just said Dennis, Charlie, Pompos, they all just, you know, they got signed recently. Dennis has his fight coming up. What did you see going into the last fight, like, that you think he's going to change going into this fight coming up?
Well, first thing, even after the fight, you know, I think was I talking to Aljo? I think I was talking to Aljo. I said, should we even try to analyze what happened, or, you know, taking the fight on 4 days' notice and having to lose 25 pounds in 3 or 4 days? I mean, like, he had a big hurdle to overcome against a really talented Sean Woodson. The guy's definitely no joke. A tall, lanky guy, knows how to use his range. So, you know, Bazooka, you know, knew it was a way to get in the UFC. And I thought he did a great job in that fight. You know, he didn't get the W, but so it's hard to say, like, what do I expect different? I expect a lot different. He's going to have a full training camp. I think you'll see a totally different guy, you know?
What kind of guy is Dennis when he's at his best? What kind of fighter?
Yeah, Dennis is, listen, when he's doing his circuits and he's training the right way, he's grinding it out, he's a very exciting, talented fighter, and I love when he's slipping and ripping. I think that's when he's at his best, is when he's making people miss, and he can make them pay. And you see that in the sparring, and you see it in some of his fights. So that's what I expect to see from him. He's going to have a great camp. He's really grinding on all the circuits and the cardio work, and I think it's going to pay off for him on November 11th.
Steamroller keeps he's on a crazy winning streak, and he was on a losing streak at one point.
Right.
So what's it like for you to see that? I mean, what's that like to witness as a coach?
I mean, what's it like to witness? It's great. You took a guy coming off a knockout. He's got 3 first-round knockouts himself now. He's on a 3-fight win streak. His confidence is good. He's always getting better every time he's in here. His boxing got way better. He's always had good cardio. He's a mad hatter when he's in there. He's very exciting. But as a coach, to watch what he did after his knockout loss is absolutely phenomenal. That's not easy, and I think it speaks volumes to who Steamroller is, to be able to come back from that and get on a roll. That's what I love about all these guys. I think Long Island has a lot of grit to it. You know, Aljo runs off a streak like that after getting knocked out by Marlon Moraes. I think that was one of the most impressive things he's ever done. I think it's even more impressive than him winning the title, is to be able to come back from a knockout like that and string together that win streak. So I think they all have that. You know, that's the beauty of this gym. You know, you could get knocked out, but there's another guy in here that got knocked out that became a world champion. I mean, there's 2 guys that got knocked out that became world champions. So what does it mean? It's just a blip in the radar, right? You got to keep grinding and believe in yourself. So when you're in a gym where everybody has experiences, that when you feel bad about something, you could actually talk to a guy that's actually been through it. Like, I could probably coach him through it, but I haven't been through it. So when I can get a guy like Matt, talk to this guy, you were there. I know I helped you, I know I was there with you, but I think it means a lot that they have, there's nothing in fighting that hasn't happened to somebody in this gym. I mean, you've seen it even since you've been there. Who's got knocked out, came back, who never thought they were going to do this, they did it, you know. So I think that's really important, not only in fighting, but in life. That, you know, like, you get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8. It's just what I like to build in here. You know what I mean? Like, you know, shit's gonna happen. It's MMA. You're not getting out of here without no losses. You know, it's a really tough sport, and if you're not put together the right way, don't even do it.
Well, I think it's a Long Island thing too, to just have that grit.
Yeah, I think so, man. You know, we always talk about, it's like Hurricane Sandy couldn't kill us. Guys said their house is wiped out. We just come back, man. That's it.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's a sense of community. like-minded people, together, and everybody supports everybody in times of need. It's like the same thing with fighting. When you lose, you want to be there to, be a safety net for the guy, and when you win, you want to hoist him up on your shoulders and walk him around the octagon. But either way, you're there for your fighter, and you're there for the team, and the team's there for you. And I think that's the beauty of having a small team. I think you feed off of that energy of knowing everybody's behind you and supports you. As opposed to being in a group of 200 guys and you're just another fighter.
Yeah, I mean it's a small team, but it's a
Yeah,
very
I think
successful
but I
team.
think that's what they feed off of. Like I think Aljo's fight against Sandhagen, the biggest thing in that fight is that there was COVID and they were training in Al's garage. He had a small group of guys, and I think Aljo's the type of guy that really feeds off that energy of having his own little small nucleus there that he can count on. Whatever it is, it's changing something in you, like that mental side. And I think for Aljo, that's my observation about him, is that he really loves that family aspect.
How about the sparring sessions with Nas and Frivola, where
Beautiful.
you got like literally 1 week, one guy wins the day, the next week the other guy wins the day.
Yeah.
And one guy is up and coming, he's more recently signed, and one guy is a top 15 guy in one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. Like, what are those sessions like?
Those sessions, you've seen them, they're awesome.
I
think you're asking like a different thing now.
I'm asking for you, like, to describe it for them, like.
No, listen, when a guy's going back and forth and one guy's winning 1 week, one guy's making the adjustments, coming back and winning next week. The thing I don't like talking about is I don't like talking about anybody winning sparring.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because that's like, then you're dissing somebody, and they're both in there to get better, and they both fight their asses off. But it does go back and forth. Who maybe has a better day than the other guy? We're not talking about winning or losing, but
More so like this.
I think
how
this week
close they are.
Frivola made an adjustment from last week. So now, like Nas just left, he said, I'm making the adjustment for next week. So I think it gets everybody better. And if it's done the right way and there's no, maliciousness in there, it's a great thing. But that's the beauty, again, of having a small team. Everybody's working with each other, but that doesn't mean you're not going to punch each other in the face and try to, do good in sparring. And that's what's going to get these guys better. And whether you've been here for 20 years or 10 years, fighting is fighting, man. You know what I mean? Like, there's divisions, I believe, that you'd rather fight a guy in the top 6 than maybe coming up, a guy that's hungry. Give me the guy that's been around for a while. That might be an easier fight. Some of these young guys coming up, piss and vinegar, they're harder to deal with.
What we were talking today, we watched Nas and Frivola spar, and you guys were just talking about like the magical sparring sessions you have here, because you have kind of a more closer to standard size cage, and it's like almost like fights.
Yeah.
Every week without guys getting injured. Like,
right.
How does that enhance the culture of the gym and like the improvement of each fighter?
Well, I'll tell you, if you're in this gym and you have the privilege of being here on a Saturday and watching that sparring, and that doesn't excite you, get the fuck out of the gym. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are you doing here? You got guys, I get private lessons that come in early and they say, dude, I want to pay you. They feel like they were at a fight. And like, again, the key to you says, as long as it's, you got elbow pads and knee pads and nobody's getting hurt, but you could go hard, but, you're not looking to really hurt somebody, then I think it's all beneficial to the end goal. And that's what we doing here. But those sparring sessions, look, there's a couple of, everything changes, right? But there's a couple of schools of thought. One school is that the sparring should be harder than the fight, but then a lot of people shy away from that because, you could get injured, and we're always very conscious now of, the brain trauma and stuff like that. So I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But when it's done the right way, I think you find the way they're doing it. So, those sessions, everybody will tell you, they always go down as, to be here and watch that is a privilege. Like, again, these guys have been fighting for a while. They're not really, you might try one new thing here and there, but for the most part, it's just really fine-tuning what they got, man, and making sure they're in shape. That's why I say if their cardio's not there, they're not going to do anything.
So
it doesn't matter how good the technique is.
Like, a lot of sparring is just getting in shape for a fight.
No, a lot of sparring should be fine-tuning. Like when you fight, you want to be able to do whatever you want to do for 15 minutes hard. If you can't do that, then you're lacking the training somewhere. You know what I mean? Like if you lose a fight, it's either the guy was better than you, which is a possibility, or your fucking cardio sucks, and then you couldn't do what you wanted to do. You know, so as long as these guys cardio, like I think everybody knows how to fight really well. As long as their cardio's in place and they're not gonna hold back because they don't want to burn out, like Merab with the takedowns. You think he gives a shit if he misses a takedown? He don't care because he's going right back at it. But there's other guys that they ain't gonna expend that energy because they don't have the energy and they don't put the work Merab puts into it. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's fighting a 3-round fight, he spars 6 rounds. How many times you see guys do that in here?
No.
So why would anybody ask, why is his cardio so good? Just watch what he does. It's that simple. No?
I agree.
You're looking at me like I'm nuts.
No, I'm just letting you talk.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why he's
course.
good. He's never stops working.
No, yeah. Same with Aljo.
Yes, I mean, you even watch him do construction. He's kicking the walls. He's even making that a cardio workout.
No, he literally has one mode in life.
That's a period. And that might be, he might have been born with that, but he's not doing anything and then jumping in there.
Right.
You know.
How about, Merab's supposedly, rumored to fight Henry.
I love it. I'd rather see him fight O'Malley in December. I think that's the right thing to do. Just like Aljo said, it's either Aljo or Merab, one or the other. I think he did a great job with that. If you're not going to give me the rematch, give Merab the shot.
Right. And then it's funny, like they're skipping over Aljo, then Merab, then Corey would be the next guy, then maybe Cheeto. They're just skipping all those 3 guys to...
That's the beauty when you own a company. You do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? That's like you telling me, I should raise the price of the water bottles in the thing. I'm not listening to you.
Well, I don't pay for the water bottles. Right?
Exactly. You're privileged.
I am.
Of course you are.
It pays
because you do this.
It's nice to be Jake Fine. If you work really hard, one day you might live like me.
All I could say is this is another fine mess you gotten us into.
Hey.
All right. I'm out of here.
Ray, thank you.
All right.